What if I told you that 4 of the 2011 World Cup winning team were actually discovered, groomed, trained and put into place because of a program? The same program that unearthed thousands of hidden talents from rural areas and then gave them a chance in domestic circuits. And then, what if I tell you that because of the sheer success of the program, it was scraped and disposed of, never to be seen again? Yep, it really did happen. Today, let's talk about the time we killed the goose that laid golden eggs. So let's start our story from a very famous adage in Indian cricket. If you want to be a cricketer, move to a city. And statistics seem to back this up. Between 1930 and 2005, a total of 251 players debuted for the Indian Test side and a total of 162 players for the Indian ODI side. Out of them, on average, a total of 40% belong to 6 major cricketing centres in India. That is Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad and Kolkata. Between 1970 to 1980s, this number had nearly reached 50%. So 6 cities, who together combine for 5% of India's population, gave 50% of Indian cricket team. So why? Why exactly is there such a huge mismatch? Well, historically, cricket in India began in clubs of major cities, with nearly no rural presence. Now, with time, this dynamic slowly began to shift, but cities still had a sizable chunk of cricket players. Now, here we need to understand how players are actually selected into the team. At the national level, selection committees functioned on a zonal basis. The committee had 5 selectors from 5 distinct zones for the senior team, and similarly 5 selectors for the junior team. But 5 selectors can't personally go and scout throughout the country, can they? So they mainly rely on recommendations from state cricket associations. This led to a bunch of logistical problems and a big non-logistical problem. Logistically, selectors like to go to places which have a high talent pool. So rather than roaming the length and breadth of all the India, just focusing on cities seems to be the practical way, doesn't it? And the rural players, well, they can be scouted out in inter-district tournaments, where a well-trained, fully equipped city team faces a largely untrained, ill-equipped team from rural areas. Just take a wild guess. Who comes out on top? And now for the non-logistical reason. This is a situation which is tailor-made for favoritism, nepotism and corruption to fester. Let's put it simply. Past players and state electors tend to belong to state capitals and urban centre, which gets their main attention when it comes to selection. And because there is no additional oversight to this process, a cricketer's son, through his father's, will find it infinitely easier to become a cricketer than a layman. And even if that son can't crack into the national team, just give him time. He will himself become a selector and then just carry on the practice. This situation made so that the only way to get selected is to have a helpful uncle or a brother-in-law who knows someone, or be willing to pay a lot of donation money. Even Virat Kohli was banned from entering his state team because his father refused to pay anyone. You can see our video on this in the description below or on the upper right side. Now granted, just like Kohli, if you score high enough and consistently enough, no board will be able to ignore you. But not all runs are created equal, are they? Scoring a century in front of a lackluster bowling attack on a flat surface with 10 dropped catches is not equal to a hard-earned 50 on a turning track with bowlers out for blood, is it? Just looking at a scorecard with no additional information is going to be a misleading venture. And this still isn't the worst of it. States like Jharkhand, whose state board was created in 2000, they did not have the infrastructure or the resources to have their own Ranji team. Players from Jharkhand had to move to other states to even have a chance to play domestic cricket. And being out of state, they were at the bottommost level in the pecking order. After all, why would you promote a person from outside when you have so many people of your own, right? And in the end, if you relent and move to a city, then because of the intense competition there, it is gonna take time for you to get noticed. Time in cities requires money, a lot of money. So more often than not, kids from poor families would just have to give up and go back home. It was in this bedrock of heartbreak and unfairness that a new system was introduced. Back in 2001, Makarand Waigankar, a columnist, scout, and administrator, was hired as a consultant by the Karnataka State Cricket Association. And within a few months of his hiring, they ran a test program called TRDW in a small district in Karnataka. Within 3 months, the talent that was identified from this district was making things difficult for teams from Bangalore. Jagmohan Dalmiya, then president of BCCI, noticed this on his visit to Bangalore and actually went to visit the district, where he was so impressed by the performance of the system that he quickly proposed the nationwide implementation of TRDW. So what exactly was this system? TRDW, or Talent Resource Development Wing, comprised of 20 Talent Resource Development Officers, or TRDOs. These TRDOs would essentially work as scouts. They needed to have at least 3 years of experience in first class cricket and would be personally selected by the chairman of TRDW. The TRDOs at the time had illustrious names like Ashok Mankad and Bharat Reddy among their lineup. But this, by itself, is nothing unique, right? What you're creating in essence are national scouts. And people being people can be corrupted. And that's where this system sets itself apart. These TRDOs were assigned the job of visiting each and every BCCI affiliated youth match in rural areas, no matter the place, no matter the age level. And based on their observation, they had to fill out an electronic form. That form tested players on pre-described parameters. And because all TRDOs were experienced veterans, a remark section was added to prevent any only data mistakes. A TRDO's assigned location would be shuffled constantly so that each candidate would be assessed by several different TRDOs. Then all the forms would be directly submitted to the National Cricket Academy, where if their score from multiple TRDOs was found to be above 85%, they would then be directly invited to train in the NCA. They would even be given certain amount of scholarship so they don't have to worry about their monetary needs. Furthermore, the chairman of TRDW, that is Dilip Vengsarkar, would sit on the 5-person selectors meeting. Now he did not have a direct vote, but he would act as an advisor, offering his opinion on players and proposing alternate options from TRDW. So, in essence, TRDW was a system that would bypass all local institutes to directly recommend players to the selection committee. It would run in parallel to the zonal system, but without any outside interference. Now initially, it was proposed to be implemented at all levels of cricket, but political wranglings under the guise that they should work towards building India's future made sure that it would be only applied at the under-19 level. Still, even under that under-19 level, in the next few years, it had found talent after talent from each and every corner of India. From a young Dhoni who was discovered by a TRDO officer called Prakash Poddar, to players including Suresh Raina, Irfan Pathan, Piyush, chawla, RP Singh, Sreesanth and many more. Even for players who were not able to get into the Indian team, because they were trained and guided by national level coaches in the NCA, they could easily figure out their way into the Indian domestic circuit. So, TRDW was a through and through success by any measure of the yardstick. So by default, it was thrashed and thrown away in 2006. Why? Nobody has a concrete answer. But it coincided with a shift in power at the top brass at the time. And reading between the lines, TRDW was shaking up the zonal power structure in place a little bit too much. And so, the golden goose was killed at the hands of power-hungry bureaucrats, and that was that. Now, there have been multiple attempts to put it back into place, even as recently as 2019. And finger crossed, it will still come out. I have high hopes from our current chairman. Till then, this is us for today. I genuinely hope you like this video. I know this was a bit more informative rather than story, So give us your feedback. If you liked it, you didn't like it, should we make such videos again? Thank you for watching.